today's episode is all about design, personality, and the future of home. I'm joined by Mary Beth Sheridan. She's the brand new president of Jonathan Adler, a company that has built a cult following by turning interiors into expressions of joy, wit, and craftsmanship. Mary Beth stepped into the role just 8 weeks ago, bringing with her a rich career in merchandising and customer experience. Now she's taking a design-led brand with 1,000+ distribution points, 10 stores, and a fiercely loyal customer into its next era. We are diving into why she said yes to this challenge, where she sees the biggest growth opportunities in home, and how a brand rooted in creativity approaches technology, personalization, and customer experience. If you're curious about leadership in a creative business, this episode is for you. Here's Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 99 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Mary Beth, welcome to OFFBounds. So happy to have you on the studio.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Paula. Thanks for having me.
I am obsessed with Jonathan Adler. I think my whole home should be Jonathan Adler. But I don't think all our listeners know exactly what the brand is and what it represents. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, well, you're not alone because I too love Jonathan Adler and I'm obsessed with it. And so many of our customers do have Jonathan Adler from the front door to the bedroom in their homes. So hopefully one day you and I will both join those ranks. Well, we are a design-driven brand rooted in modern American glamour. And, what does that mean? Well, it means we do everything from pottery and giftables to furniture and large-scale interior design projects. We have 10 locations worldwide. We're a global brand, 10 retail stores. We have a very robust and thriving e-commerce site. Additionally, very important to our growth, which we'll talk about, I know, in a little while, is our interior design business, which is from small residential projects to large commercial hotels and restaurants. And we have a very large base of wholesale partners, over 1,000 points of distribution within wholesale, and that's growing to include larger scale specialty and department stores as well.
Yeah, and I think it's just such a special brand because I think the products that you see, they're just not something that you can find anywhere else. It's very specific. You can smell that it's Jonathan Adler,
You can smell it, you can see it, you can feel it.
You can smell it and feel it.
Whether you want a candle or you can. So Jonathan Adler is rooted in craftsmanship, and he began his career in 1993, actually, as a potter. So many, many years ago, and that is what is at the heart and soul of our company. We have a pottery studio in our flagship Soho, New York City store. It is the number one destination when a customer or a client walks into the store they want to meet. If Jonathan's back there or his pottery team working on something. And it really is how we started and how almost all designs begin in the pottery studio, with the exception of furniture, which is we're not as well known for, but is still a huge part of our business. And similar to pottery, that starts with craftsmanship and with Jonathan and our design team and our brand team traveling the globe to find, artisans that can bring that very unique design that you mentioned.
Yeah. And how do you describe who the consumers of Jonathan Adler are? Because I think they have to be artsy. They have to some sort of weird sophistication. Well, that's how I can describe.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm glad you asked that question because we are hyper-focused on the customer. All of our strategies that we're developing as a brand and as a product, and whether it's digital, e-com, wholesale partnerships, our design philosophy, all starts with the customer. And sometimes the customer is an individual. Sometimes it's a big project, like I mentioned. Sometimes it's a wholesale partnership. But, so the customer comes from many different places and is very diverse. But I think that our customer wants an elevated, unique, like I said, crafted, sort of bespoke interior design experience. And that's what we can offer. Some customers have homes full of Jonathan Adler and some just want a touch and a piece here and there. And we're here for all of them.
Yeah. I definitely wanted all the rugs though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm obsessed.
Oh, gorgeous. Gorgeous. I agree. I fully agree. So much great color.
Yeah. But another interesting thing is like you are here now and it's been how long that you're in the company?
Actually, 7 weeks. I think you thought I was here 3 months, but it's not even 2, believe it or not. Yeah, 2 months. It'll be 2 months next week.
So 2 months next week that you are the president of Jonathan Adler.
Yes.
What made you accept this challenge?
Well, I'm a merchant. I love retail, but all my roots are grounded in merchandising and product and customer behavior. And I saw that my ambitions aligned very well with the needs of Jonathan Adler right now. I just feel like I've known Jonathan Adler sort of like you for many, many years. I've long admired him as an individual and a craftsman, but the team, who I've known many of the team members for many years as well. And I just think, my background in merchandising and customer can have a great impact in propelling this brand forward for growth.
Yeah, I think like you have such a good background in merchandising because I think this is the core of brands in retail, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the core of what it is. Do you think that really helped you with the decision of working with something so crafted?
Yes, I actually do. In fact, I was reading an article this morning, the Q3 earnings reports all came out for the public companies, and there was an article written this morning that many of the companies that are thriving now, and there are so many great ones, are led by merchants. And, it's funny, when I was interviewing for this job, my boss, who's now my boss, asked me, how would you describe myself? And I just said, I'm a merchant. And he said, okay, basically, you have the job. I just think having that sort of eye and that feel for driving the different channels of business. And again, coming back to the customer, being very hyper-focused on the customer and on newness in product. And I know we'll talk a little bit about how we deliver that, but it's very important. And to have that lens as a merchant, I think helps me. My left brain, right brain are always sort of balancing each other.
Yeah, there's a book that I read from the founder of Walmart, and he said like there are 2 types of retailers, the merchants and the operators.
Yeah.
The merchants can always learn how to be operators, but
Yes.
the operators struggle to be the merchants. So.
You know what? It's so true. I started off as a math major, which converted into finance. You can learn that. But then I added on marketing and, understanding customer behavior and an empathetic lens to how you run a business is something that's harder to learn than the financial part.
Yeah. And so now that you're bringing your expertise to the brand, what is the future?
Well, our future is really bringing Jonathan Adler's specialness to more people. So that is our future. Our future is very rooted in not only growth of the top line and the bottom line performance of the business, but it's a brand where the person, Jonathan, his background and the name are more well known than our points of distribution are. So I'll say that's a very good problem because there's so much respect for him and for the business that he grew that it makes our job sort of easy, and that now we just have to find ways through the product and the marketing and the distribution points to get it into more households and get it into more customers' hands.
Yeah, and it's such a competitive space, right? Like we see more brands coming up, but there's something so unique about, I don't know, you can spot what is a Jonathan Adler in somebody's house, in a hotel. You'll see like, I know, you feel it.
You can. No, you can. We have that unique quality, which I love because I love working with product that has that, like we're always thinking, who is the customer? Who's buying this? And sometimes we just love it so much, we say, we're just making it anyway. We don't know who's buying this, but it's going to be perfect for our brand. And those are usually our best sellers. Driven by our gut instincts as merchants and as retailers. But, as we look to answer your question even further, some of our growth opportunities really come in the form of what I'll call partnerships. And partnerships also mean, brand collaborations as well as licensing opportunities. We're very focused on how we can get Jonathan Adler, like I said, into more and more people's hands, including what I would describe as a slightly younger customer than our core consumer has been in the recent years.
Interesting. So, and how do we do that? Because you're already in like 1,000 points of distribution.
Yeah.
You have a strong brand. How people are going to get their hands more on Jonathan Adler products?
Yeah, well, our website, like I said, is where we only have 10 retail stores. So our website is just, growing like crazy, and finding our voice and how our authentic voice and how we speak to customers digitally is very, very important. But the more and more of the design studio, which is a branded portion of our business, the more and more residential and commercial projects that our studio takes on. If we have hotels that are full Jonathan Adler, that exposes all the guests in that hotel to the product, and now they know our name.
Yeah, it's a pure advertising
exactly
source that you literally experience.
It
right?
really is. It really is. And we design and curate those projects very much like we want it to feel like our home. And that's how we want our customers to feel also when they walk into our stores. We want them to feel like it's our home, our team's home, Jonathan's home. And, so those projects get us lots and lots of eyeballs. The other place where we get lots of eyeballs and footsteps is with our wholesale strategy of expanding beyond our very proud 1,000 points of distribution, with more local retailers, is into more global retail locations that have sort of windows to the cities and the world that we want to be a part of.
Nice. So it's more of an international expansion?
It's U.S. To larger scale retailer partners. And we really do focus on this as a partnership. This is not a sell-in. There's no numbers that I'm trying to hit. But, well, obviously we need to hit the numbers. But it's more of a partnership to expand the customer's vision of the brand. It's domestically in the U.S. and overseas.
Very good. And what does it take for a brand like Jonathan Adler to evolve and express? I love what you said about these hotels and you experiencing the brand and being connected with it and eventually becoming a customer. But it's also emotional. Do you think you can send these emotions across all your channels as well?
One of the things I'd like to really make sure that our listeners understand is that we feel very, very passionate that buying a piece of Jonathan Adler or we're honored to have customers bring it into their homes. I know I speak for the entire team. And we've gone as retailers from what customers used to do, which is buy a product, to now customers buy a lifestyle. And customers, and I'm sure you feel this way too, Paula. I know I do. I want to align myself with brands and products that aligned and similar to my values and how I see the world. Yeah. And I think, authenticity is the buzzword of the day, but, customers can spot when you're not authentic. Customers can spot that in a brand and how we communicate that in our stores and on our sites and in our partnerships. Our job is to be very rooted in Jonathan's roots as a potter, as a craftsman, as someone who wants to bring that very designed aesthetic into their home. And that's sort of how we frame up every decision that we make, from product to marketing to, retail or wholesale expansion.
Yeah, I saw him on stage at Shop Talk when he was announcing that the company was acquired. It was so beautiful to see the love that he feels. It's like, I feel so blessed when somebody chooses to buy a product because it's not something you need.
No.
It's not something you really need to survive. You actually bought it because it expresses something for you.
Exactly.
So, and this is what the brand is, as I can see.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan's motto and the one we take to our grave is if your heirs won't fight over it, we won't make it. It's got to be that special to be invited into someone's home that, we're constantly saying, what else can we do? How else can we make this special that's going to pull at the emotional heartstrings of the consumer? Like you said, you don't need it. It's not a life-saving or it's not food. It's something that it's an emotional and it's a brand sort of aligned decision that customers are making these days.
Yeah. And that would totally align with my values, to be honest.
Good. I can see your home now.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait until you see my home. Yeah, maybe for our next studio.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. We should decorate it for the next.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank goodness we're recording this, you see. Yeah.
Yes.
But one thing that I find very funny is that your stores are they have this neighborhood engagement, handwritten notes, personal relationships, in-home consultations.
Yes.
How do you scale that?
We talk about personalization a lot, which I think is what you're kind of getting at. So Personalization comes in the form of kind of three things. First of all, it's the product. Second, it's our store or retail experience. And third, and really importantly, it's our digital experience. And, we like to think of ourselves as digitally first because that's how our customer shops now. Even if you're shopping in a retail store, you're often pre-shopping or coming in with your phone to show the sales associate what you're looking for. But, we're digitally first or digitally enabled, if you will, but that's not all because we have stores and we have wholesale partnerships. But, to start with the product, dozens and dozens of combinations of finishes and colors and fabrications and formats, in not only our furniture, but also in our pottery. Some of our best known, we call them collections or franchises, have lots and lots of iterations that we've developed over the years to make sure that if you love Dora, you can get Dora in a million different, iterations. Nice. A vase, a candle, a pedestal, a lamp, and so we really think that there is a way that we personalize every piece of product and customize it. But I think what you're getting at from our neighborhood stores, our stores are all freestanding for the most part. We have one in them all, but for the most part, we're freestanding. We are in neighborhoods, and we want to be part of the community. And that's what you mentioned, personal notes, birthdays, thank yous, welcoming our customers into our stores as if it's our home, like we discussed. That's a very, very important connection. I've been on a listening tour to all of our stores, and when I'm in a store and somebody is walking by and they stop and wave and come in because they spotted the manager or the associate that they have a connection with. I've seen this multiple times, and they rarely leave empty-handed. So to me, it's a connection and it's a revenue stream.
Yeah, so it's almost like the personalization that we usually talk here on the show. We are usually talking about, AI sending personalized notes.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is like actually personal.
It is personal. Now, to get back to the digital first kind of focus, our website is super important. Also, our digital communications with customers, whether it be social, email, TikTok, whatever, all the usual forms, Pinterest forms within the home furnishings area are all very important. So as a consumer, that when you search or shop or look up something on the web, then it will start following you. Or you look on Instagram, right?
Forever.
So
yeah.
Exactly. So we do that too. So we serve up, personalized media and personalized ads to our customers. Also a personalized homepage and emails. And this is where we can really track the progress and see the traffic, see the clicks, see the conversion and the revenue. It's a little more ambiguous in a store setting, but when you're on digital, we can actually see it, track it. All of our SMS, all of our text messaging, everything is personalized, and therefore we have seen such an uptick in our performance since we really embraced our digital first mentality.
So it's the digital first, like I see my journey, right?
Yeah.
Like I can go to a Jonathan store, I see a couple of things that I see, and then I go to the website and I keep looking because it's not something that you buy on impulse. Like it's something that it takes some consideration time.
Some stuff is impulse and some stuff is consideration. So the products that are impulse are mostly our gift. We have a very robust gift assortment. And when I say gifts, it's not only things like vases and candles, but it's also salt and pepper shakers and trinket trays and coasters. And, these are gifts that sometimes you buy one for yourself and one for the party you're going to tonight, or, for your Galentine's Day or whatever it might be. But these are not highly considered purchases. Those are the ones that walk out of the store. But our retail stores also have showrooms of furniture and lighting and rugs, which are what you're describing, a very considered purchase and a very much a family decision. So those searches often start at home on the web or on your phone, and our customers come in and specifically want to see it, sit on it, get a fabric swatch, take it home, take pictures, put it in ChatGPT, AI, do a room plan, which is what I'm working on now for my home. They can have a very different experience because they're starting on e-com and coming into the store. All of our
they already have the research.
They've already researched it. And, our inventory is what we call omni. And this is something we talk to our field and our stores team about a lot. Just because we're out of something in a store, pull it up on the iPad, order it with free shipping to the customer's home. Oftentimes, customers customers appreciate that because a lot of our products are heavy to carry and we're in freestanding urban locations. It's not like your car can be pulled up right outside sometimes. So our customers love our, sort of what I call omni approach to having it sent to them and taking that sort of hassle out of carrying something around.
Yeah. We talked a lot about the personalization part of the website, but how do you see, as unfortunately every conversation I have, we have to talk about AI.
Of course.
How do you see the role of AI in these evolving customers that are coming to the brand?
We're finding our balance when it comes to AI. It's all about balance in our industry. And for me, how we talk about it is AI is just another creative lens. It's not a threat, it's a tool. That's kind of how we talk about it. But I also always ground myself in my own personal experience, and I ask my team to do that as well. What are we using AI for? I'm using it for, I'm doing a little mini renovation on my home. And
to see how things are going to look like.
Exactly.
Give suggestions or lighting.
I am using AI to not only suggest products, but also create roomscapes and thoughtful room plans that I can then either change, dislike, so easily. So I'm just one customer. My whole team experiences that in a different way, but different applications, but probably similar type, end uses for making decisions that are somewhat creative in their lives. So if you take that sort of learning for how are we using AI just personally and apply it to the workplace, and for us being a creative brand, it's not going to take away, Jonathan's brain if he comes up with a great design.
No, please don't.
It's not going to replace that, but it can augment it and take legwork out and figure out, let's render that in a roomscape, in a room setting. Before we go on a photo shoot, why don't we lay out all the pieces and see, what different scenarios look like? So, scenarios and contingency planning. So I think that's how AI can streamline a creative process to be more impactful with a better end result.
Yeah, so you just make everybody's work more simple.
Exactly.
Or faster and more effective.
Exactly. Yeah.
You give superpowers to the creative.
It does. And it helps us to tweak and make changes, when we're looking at different products, rooms, designs. We're designing a shop in shop for one of our wholesale partners, and it's just so easy to do a rendering and make changes based on the square footage or the adjacencies in a multi-branded store. Our own store is, like I said, a little jewel box. It's easy. We go in, we move stuff around all the time. But when you're in a multi-branded format of a larger retailer, having those AI-generated renderings that can easily be manipulated are a godsend.
I want to know more about you because you just accepted a very good challenge and you had such an incredible career as a merchant. Mm-hmm. What is your advice to someone who wants to become a leader in this industry?
One of the things you have to always focus on is career that you're passionate about. I started on the shop floor selling women's shoes while I was in college, and I loved it, and I was really successful at it. So I got sort of the bug, and I became really passionate about having a career in retail. So, first and foremost, you have to love what you do, no matter how much money you're making. I know that's hard to say because I've gone through making a lot and not making a lot as myself. But, I think you have to just put that aside and say, this is an extension of your life. It's not like I have work and I have home. It's all blended now for everybody now the way we work, right? So you have to be passionate and love what you do. I also feel, and I always speak with my interns and my mentees a lot about this, is saying yes to what I'll call sideways moves in my career path. If given the opportunity to take a path into planning, take a path into working in the stores, work on e-commerce or digital, I always, at first I held the phone away from my ear and I said, "You want me to do what now?" In my career.
Yeah.
But then I said, "Okay, I'll learn something." And I guess the motto of that is you will learn more if you say yes to these sort of sideways adjacent career moves along your journey.
I think these things that you feel that you're unqualified for, say yes and figure it out.
You'll learn another part of the business that you never would have perhaps been exposed to. And part of that is also when you're in meetings, always be asking questions of your cross-functional partners. Not that you want to do their job, but you want to learn what decision making is important to them and how you can support each other. If you're in merchandising, one of your biggest partners is marketing or planning, and you constantly have to be asking questions and thinking through the business through their lens in order to bring your best merchandising, perspective to the meeting.
Yeah. Do you have a specific story that you had to say yes for one of these challenges that you were like, what?
Yeah, there's several actually.
There's one that is more memorable.
Probably my first true buying job is the one. It just came to my mind as you were saying this, is I was in a traditional department store training program, and I was always in the fashion business, whether it be accessories or women's apparel. And that was 3-4 years in, and I was, right out of college. And then the big call came of, I'm getting promoted to be a buyer. My time has come. And it was a phone call. And I remember where I was when this phone call came in on the hard line on my desk, which was,
when we had those.
Congratulations, you're being promoted to be a buyer. And I was so excited. I couldn't wait. I was like, designer sportswear, shoes. And then what it was? Pillows and mattress pads. So it was pillows and mattress pads. And this was my first foray into the home business. And I sort of was a little speechless. And do you have the right number? But it was me that they wanted for that job. And I approached it with the same type of curiosity and passion and sort of taste level that I would bring to, a fashion area. And I lasted about 9 months in that role, but then I was promoted to the top of bed, and the top of bed pillow, comforters and sheets, and the fashion part of the soft home.
And then you got to the more interesting stuff that you're looking forward to.
I got to look at something that wasn't white. I was picking patterns and choosing fabrics and colors, and all of a sudden my world changed. So I did a great job in pillows and mattress pads. So, but I think the lesson in that is just say yes to the job and be curious and bring your not only taste level, but your gut feeling and your gut merchandising skills, and it all works out. It always all works out.
And when you are hiring for a team, is that the characteristics you're looking for? Yeah,
that is what I'm looking for. It's sort of a given if you are making it as far to be interviewed that, you've got the intelligence. And I'll say I'm always looking for that emotional intelligence and that personality to come through a little bit. But really, I want curiosity. I want someone who's questioning, who's, like I said, you've got to have a gut feeling that everything, you have to pay attention to the numbers and the metrics, but you have to be a risk taker and know that something is right for your brand and for your customer, and just go for it.
Yeah, these are all things that AI cannot do.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Mary Beth, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited for your new role.
Me
I'll
too.
be following Jonathan Adler and everything you're going to do with the brand, and congratulations.
Oh, thanks, Paul, and happy holidays, and we'll look for you in our stores and on our site.
Thank you.
Thanks.